Stories in Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The National Industrial Court restrains the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) from embarking on any planned industrial action as negotiations over fuel subsidy removal continue. On the interview segment for today, we focus on the impending strike by the NLC with the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kassim Afegwa, as our guest, as well as the spokesperson of the Women for Yari movement, Safiya Ibrahim Ogo, on the battle for Senate presidency of the 10th National Assembly. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to some developments in the polity. Meanwhile, the National Industrial Court sitting in Abuja has restrained the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) from embarking on any planned industrial action pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice filed by the federal government. Ruling on an ex parte motion filed by the federal government, Justice Olufunke Anuwe held that Section 7B of the National Industrial Court Act 2006 empowers the court with exclusive jurisdiction in matters relating to the grant of any order to restrain any person or body from taking part in any strike, lockout, or any industrial action. The court agreed with the submission of the federal government in its ex parte motion that the proposed strike is capable of disrupting economic activities, the health and the education sectors. President Bola Tinubu has encouraged security agencies in Nigeria to share intelligence and information among themselves and collaborate in the fight against terrorism and extremism. President Tinubu stated this when he visited the office of the National Security Advisor and was shown around the facility at the Counter-Terrorism Center in Abuja. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde reports.
The second week of the Tinubu presidency starts with a tour of the country's newly built Counter-Terrorism Center, inaugurated in March. President Bola Tinubu had said security will be a top priority of his administration, and his first visit to this critical security infrastructure is to get up close to the country's counter-terrorism strategy.
What I've seen here is a demonstration of intelligent effort to counter terrorism. It must be backed by knowledge. Counter-terrorism that is not backed by knowledge is not going to be of any service to any nation.
For Mr. President, he believes the failure of security agencies to share intelligence has also slowed down government's efforts to fight terrorism despite huge funding.
The effort of the entire armed forces of this country must be put together in a way that will form one single focus on securing the country. You can't have a disharmony in an orchestra of this security plan.
The National Security Advisor says the visit of the country's Commander-in-Chief shows his commitment to improving the security situation in Nigeria and, by extension, the sub-region of West Africa.
I urge you, Mr. President, not to relent in the support you've been giving us psychologically as a result of the meeting we had with you on Thursday of last week, and we are compelled to note that all the agencies have started working assiduously towards realizing your objective. Mr. President, you have a hard day and a long day ahead of you.
Nigeria's security situation has fluctuated between bad and worse over the years. Now President Tinubu will need to work harder to reform both the security doctrine and architecture and ultimately restore calm to the troubled regions of the country. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our first guest of the day, who is the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kassim Efegwa, for discussion on the impending strike by the NLC. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the first guest of the day. I am joined by the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kassim Efegwa, for discussion on the impending strike by the NLC. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, it's a fresh government in place, but the new president is already facing some heat regarding fuel subsidy removal. Is it not too early for this to be happening, Mr. Efegwa?
Nothing is too early. The president made a commitment during campaign that he was going to remove subsidy. Every notable presidential candidate, especially the four front runners, made commitment to the fact that they were going to remove subsidy. In fact, some said it will not stay a day longer. So what the president has just done was to fulfill his campaign promise. But don't forget that technically, the subsidy was already removed by his predecessor because he was just responding to what he inherited, that the budget of the country did not capture subsidy payments for this year. And by implication, it means that subsidy was already gone. So he was only re-emphasizing what was already captured in the Appropriation Act of 2023. And so there's nothing strange. All he needs to do is what he's doing, reaching out to stakeholders, consulting with people, and ensuring that he listens to their demands and how to design the appropriate palliative measures to cushion the impact of this subsidy removal. But to say whether the subsidy removal is auspicious, I think so, because we are all agreed that this subsidy has been a pain in the neck, because a lot of people who have turned themselves to importers and importers of petroleum products called marketers, they have dealt a serious economic blow to the country. They are not just economic predators and buccaneers. They have held us down, breathing down our throats by the unwholesome practice in that sector. And so for a president to muster that courage to make that pronouncement first day in office is, for me, a welcome development.
Right. So, organized labor, particularly NLC, has decided to go on strike over subsidy removal. Will you say this is the right step?
You see, I think we should give credit to any government that has a destination in mind with respect to any economic problematic. The organized labor would naturally want to fend for the interests of their own members and workers at large. That is not a bad idea, but they must, in the interest of the country, apply some level of tact, diplomacy, and restraint. You see, calling for a down-tool action almost immediately, barely a week of this new government, to me, is wicked and quite unhealthy for our democracy, especially when discussions are still going on, consultations, constructive engagement. The president and other representatives of government are saying, holding meetings, discussing with leaders of NLC, TUC, even the health sector and all of that. It is only when a government is not listening or not yielding ground to some of your demands that the issue of strike or down-tool action becomes necessary or as a last resort. But for you to just make a pronouncement that you must go on strike, whether heaven falls or not, because you must return to status quo and all that. Labor cannot drive the vehicle of government. Government is government, labor is labor. Labor will have to look at the prevailing circumstances, the scenario upon which the government is operating, and listen to government. The government will also listen to labor, and they will meet at a middle road solution to ensure that we are able to address this economic issue. We have been talking about subsidy for almost 30 years. It's been on and off, on and off, on and off. This time, if we have a government that has taken the bull by the horn to kill the elephant in the room, to create space for other animals to, to fraternize within the system, I think labor should just be a partner in progress rather than seeing itself as an enemy of government. So for me, I think the NLC have become too militant in the way and manner they pronounce that there will be strike on Wednesday, no going back, no this, no. A government that is ready to dialogue, that's ready to listen to you. Look at the TUC came out from a very robust meeting, and they said they have gained some ground and they are going to continue again on Thursday. NLC they decide to turn down the invitation again because they are just interested. Why are you strike hungry? You want to go on strike. What will strike get you at the end of the day? Because any government would naturally want to fill the pulse of the people, and in doing so, they will also want to come up with palliatives to cushion the effect of this subsidy removal. Nobody says it's going to be an El Dorado. No, we're going to go through some pains, whether we like it or not. But if we go through some pains and we're able to nip this in the bud, it will create opportunity for more revenue on the side of government that can be invested in education, health sector, infrastructure, and other aspects of our national life. But
all right.
if a government is not listening...
But now that the industrial court has restrained NLC and TUC from embarking on this strike, what is the way forward?
The way forward is consultation, dialogue, robust engagement that the government has commenced. When a government is interactive, conversational, it helps to solve a lot of problems without wielding cudgels and other weapons. You need to just sit back on a round table, because even in the art of war, you still come down to a round table to resolve the war. From the ashes of war, you still come back to the round table to discuss what's the way forward. And so, rather than provoking, strike and saying strike, we must go on strike and all that, whether the industrial court gave even an order or otherwise, the NLC should fill the pulse of the country at this time. We need to collectively see the country as a Nigerian project. We need to appeal to the consciences of ourselves and those who we lead, that yes, if you go on strike, are you solving the problem? My answer will be no. But how do you solve the problem? If you have a government that is listening, a government that's ready to dialogue, a government that's ready to engage you, a government that is ready to robustly look at the issues, because governance and the people and all that should be a matter of symbiotic relationship. And don't forget, you cannot kill the employer because you want to help the employee. No, you must find a way of protecting the employer so that he will continuously help the employee to pay his wages and all of that. If the wages are not enough, yes, there are opportunities for you to ask for wage increase and other things that will help to cushion the impact. But for you to declare outright that you want to go on strike and all of that, to me, I think that is a handshake beyond the elbow. So the NLC led by Ajaero should please not make some of us see that he is being politically motivated, because we are all agreed that subsidy should go. How the style applied by any government with respect to the removal of subsidy should be left to the leader. It's only the leader of a country that knows the destination is taking the people and not where the people are taking him. That must be understood. And so, government is ready to robustly engage. Allow opportunity for that engagement. Let's see the result. If you are not comfortable with the outcome of that consultations and deliberations, then you cannot inform Nigerians that this is what the government is telling you. You are not satisfied. You want to press further. Because strike action is naturally for you to put pressure on government to do certain things. But in this case, you have not even concluded discussions with government. You have just met them once, and the next thing you pronounce is strike. I don't want to believe that Ajero is strike hungry.
All right, so talking about wage increase, which is one of the demands of the TUC, how feasible is this?
How what?
How feasible is this for government?
Oh, how feasible? You
Yes.
see, from the statistics we have been getting about this subsidy issue, they say half year, 3.6 trillion will be expended on it. Now, if we are not going to spend 3.6 trillion, and in a year about 7-point-something trillion, then you should be able to save money from that and help allocation to states. That will mean improved allocation to states. So instead of states sharing maybe 700 billion, 800 billion, they can be sharing 1 million, 1.2 trillion naira, and that will also mean more money to the states so that they will be able to meet the commitment for wage increase. You cannot but increase wages at this point, because whether you like it or not, the concomitant effect of this subsidy removal will burn heavier on us for now. But in the final analysis, we may be getting to a destination that will help government to attract more money, get more revenue, such that it will impact on other aspects of our national life. The education sector needs money. You can't be spending 375 billion per day for subsidy in this new age. You can't be whereas what you are spending for education is less than that. You can't be spending less money on the health sector, road infrastructure, housing, and so many, even security. So you need to save money, you need money. Instead of going borrow, if we can nip this in the bud, then we will have saved enough to cater for whatever wage increase that government may reach with all the organized labor. And in the final analysis, everyone will have a buy-in to government position with respect to other cushioning palliatives that the government may introduce, maybe mass transit or other things that the labor may come up with. But to say that you don't want to sit down at a round table to discuss is, for me, as if you are working towards a premeditated end to shut down the country, a new government barely a week old, and you want to plunge all of us into this kind of strike. For me, strike will not yield the result. You need to sit on a round table to discuss, particularly for a government that is willing to discuss, to robustly engage the issues. You can't but just give them the opportunity for that. It is only when you exhaust all the options that strike becomes the last option. And in this case, it does not arise at all.
All right, so just like you rightly pointed out, the federal government has shown that it is ready to continue negotiations with labor. So then what should government do to avoid further crisis?
You see, this government, you must give this government one credit. I think the credit has just started unfolding. During the campaigns, we raised this. I said it personally, that the president is a man of dialogue. You see, when you are able to dialogue on issues, you solve a lot of problems without, without furthering any crisis. And a president that is conversational, that is interactive, you can gain a lot on a roundtable discussion. And the president met with the head workers. They are calling off their strike. That's a plus. Before now, you see a representative of government going to talk to head workers and ASU and all of that. You don't see the president getting involved. But this present president is a man of struggle, a man who has been on the street fighting for democracy. And now that he has opportunity to govern the country, he is very international, is very conversational, and is ready to engage anyone, organized labor, trade unions, and what have you, to sit on a round table to look at these issues. I don't want us to even to be going forth and back. I think NLC, TUC, Johansson, and all that, including ASU, will have opportunity to sit down on a roundtable with the president to look at some of these issues. And the president is aware that there are problems on ground, but not addressing those problems will be missing the point. And he has started well by meeting TUC, by meeting NLC, but I understand that NLC has declined further meeting with the president or with the federal government on looking at these issues. I think for me, dialogue, conversation, you can't run away from them, because constructively you have to engage the process. You have to look at issues, the variables. What are these issues we're talking about? What are the ills of subsidy? If you say, let's go back to status quo, are you now saying you don't believe in the declaration by all the candidates contesting for this, that contested for this election, that subsidy should go, or the general belief by a lot of commentators, industry experts about eliminating subsidies so that we can save money for other things? 7 trillion naira is huge money to be wasted on subsidy, and all of that money goes into, about half of that money goes into the pockets of all these subsidy scammers and predators. So rather than import fuel and you subsidize, then you take half of it to neighboring countries of Benin, Nigeria, and all of that to sell. The NNPC has said that anybody, by virtue of this pronouncement, anybody can import fuel, and so far the fuel meets the standard that will be good for our own consumption. And the NNPC also must wake up to its responsibility, because NNPC cannot be a regulator since it's been privatized by virtue of the Petroleum Industrial Act. It cannot be fixing prices. And you saw what happened last week when they fixed their own prices for their own filling stations. Every other filling stations took a cue from that. That, to me, is wrong. If you are deregulating the sector, you must carry out a full wholesale deregulation so that people, industry players, newcomers, old players would invest in that sector and ensure that there's some level of equilibrium in the way and manner that this price issue comes on. But for NNPC to still be playing the role of the ombudsman, to me, I think that would be wrong.
All right. So as an update, the NLC is currently in a meeting with the federal government in Abuja. But while we wait for the outcome of that meeting, what interventionist measures do you think can be put in place to ensure that the removal of fuel subsidy does not worsen inflation and economic instability?
You see, as a government, you need to take certain painful decisions, painful and bold decisions, such that the end product will be to the well-being of the people. Government is not a Father Christmas. Government has no business in business, but government has a responsibility to provide enabling environment for businesses to thrive, so that both the private sector and every other sector will have opportunity to pursue their legitimate aspirations in terms of businesses without let or hindrance. Government must provide rule of law, they must provide security and all of that. So, no matter the perspective of anyone with respect to this subsidy issue, we must bear in mind that the end product will be good for all of us. So, whether it will cause inflation, whether it will cause all of that will come. Those are the concomitant effects. Government must sit down with labor, with stakeholders, industry players, tap into their ideas and see. I've had quite a number of persons saying that government should have addressed, this palliative and the cushioning effect before introducing. It's a matter of style. You either remove subsidy and begin to address the palliatives and the cushioning initiatives, or you wait to address the palliatives before you throw it up. It's a matter of style, so that should not be an issue. What is the common denominator is the subsidy scam. It has become a scam. Go to Petroleum Equalization Fund. Go and see what obtains in those places. People don't even import fuel. They cook up figures, and before you say Jacobisi, they are breathing down the throat of government to pay for what they didn't import. Marketers have become economic predictors and buccaneers. And we must be bold enough to give governments that the needed support, encouragement, rather than threatening that we want to down-tool action. Your down-tooling action will not in any way bring solution to the table. What will bring solution is for you to engage government, look them eyeball to eyeball, and tell them this is what you want. If the minimum wage that is currently available is not what you want, if you want it tripled, you tell government, and you also come up with figures. Except Labour wants to tell us that they are in collaboration with the marketers, which is not out of place anyway. That's the only reason why they will be threatening to carry out a strike action. Otherwise, the prevailing environment around this new government has not suggested that strike action should be the ultimate. It has not suggested so, because the government is already engaging in dialogue, is already engaging in conversation, even inviting former labor leaders and opinion holders and all that to be part of the deliberation, so that they can reach a position that will be agreeable to both parties. In the final analysis, it is for the good of our country, not anybody's own. It's for the good of our country. If we save money to apply in other areas of our developmental initiatives, so good for all of us. If we decide now to say we are going back to status quo and we are continuing, these marketers have so much money, they will erode the system, pump money into the system to blackmail government and change the entire narrative. That has been the practice. So I want to commend President Bola Tinubu for taking that first bold step and making efforts now to reach out to all stakeholders, all organized labor and all of that, for them to work out the modalities on how to arrive at a safe landing.
All right. The Dangote refinery has just been inaugurated. How do you think this will help in all these?
You said what?
The Dangote refinery has just been inaugurated. How do you think this will help in all these?
You see, I am not going to sit down here to promote the business of one man. I'll promote the business of our refineries. What has happened to our refineries? Well, 4 refineries in this country. And I want to tell you that marketers, petroleum marketers, have been part and parcel of those who have been saboteurs or sabotaging the effort of fixing those refineries. People must get to understand some of these things. You see, the moment the refineries don't work, it is good business for the marketers. But when they work, it is bad business for them. So, if we remove subsidy and they realize that that kind of humongous profit that they've been benefiting will no longer come, then they will pull off their hands from the refineries that have been down for quite some time. NNPC must make effort to fix 1 or 2 refineries, and they should not be relying on the refinery built by a businessman who wants to reap the reward for his labor. That must be understood. Because by the time Dangote refinery starts, maybe 2024, I don't think Dangote refinery will start this year. I'm not seeing the possibility because that place is literally 85% completed. So if it starts in 2024, what are we going to be waiting months on end? 1 or 2 refineries can be fixed. That Nigerian refineries can be fixed to start producing. At least Dangote refinery will complement the government refinery that have been on ground since the 70s. So, but to just leave them lying fallow and relying on Dangote refinery will be putting too much burden and pressure on a private businessman who wants to drive his business at the pace that he desires. But if it is Nigerian refinery, I think people will realize that yes, government has a responsibility to keep the refinery working in the interest of all. Dangote refinery may decide to shut down at any time. It's not answerable to you. It's just his own private business, and you cannot dictate to him how he wants to run his business. And so, for me, I will want those refineries to be fixed, so that we can have opportunity of refining the product that we are consuming. Because what brought about subsidy is because the refineries broke down, people are now importing, and the landing cost is less than what they use in importing because of our currency devaluation and what have you. So if they are to sell at what the landing cost is, 185 or what have you, they will be running at a loss. And so government has been subsidizing. So what at the amount of that subsidizing is what is at issue. Because the honesty and the opaque nature of that transaction is what is bringing this corruption and financial malfeasance.
Right. Mr. Fegwa, you're aware that apart from fuel subsidy payments, loan servicing is another factor taking revenue away from government. How should this be handled to reduce debt burden in the country?
Well, Every country must borrow money. But what you apply the money being borrowed on and for is what is at issue. Oftentimes, government borrow money when even their source of revenue cannot meet up with the issue of debt acquisition. You can service your debts, no doubt, but if you borrow money, you must borrow money to apply in areas that are generative in terms of income and revenue. If you borrow money to fix a road, for example, and you tow that road, you can get the money back in 2, 3, 4 years, depending on the criteria. But debts are not essentially bad. We say debts, they are not essentially bad. What is bad is when we take debts, we don't know what they are used for. And they leave the burden for the taxpayers to bear. That is what is bad. So, for me, if we are going to be saving 7 trillion or 7.2 trillion as a consequence of removing subsidy, we are going to be saving part of that money to cater for a lot of our infrastructure, investment in education, health, and so many other aspects of our developmental life. That way, the quantum of money we are going to be borrowing will not be as much as the one that Tinubu's predecessor acquired for the country. And so we have a government and a president who understands the dynamics and the technicalities of some of these things, being a finance person. And so he will know how to interrogate figures and how to ask the relevant questions at every point in time. Imagine what we were greeted with, at the 12th hour of the last administration. $800 million going to be borrowed to be sent to some people, the list for which we don't know. The Nigerians, maybe you pay them 30,000 naira and all of that. And that, in their own estimation, is their own way of cushioning the impact of subsidy removal and what have you. That to me was laughable. But thank God we are not going that route now. We must sit back, follow this subsidy issue, religiously, and ensure that we enjoy the gain and we'll throw away the pain under the table, then address the critical issues of wage increase and other aspects of the worker's life so that we have a middle road solution that will help the country to move forward. It's a huge task, but all Nigerians must buy into this, because rather than allowing few people to be enjoying our commonwealth in the name of subsidy, it is better we eliminate subsidy and open the floodgate for a lot of people to invest in petroleum import, pending when the refineries will be fixed. But I know President Tinubu will fix 1 or 2 refineries in no distant future, and that will also help to put pay to cries of domination.
All right, so apart from this, what will you consider the most pressing economic challenge that President Tinubu must tackle?
You see, you cannot pursue your legitimate aspiration on a daily basis if your security architecture is faulty. I wouldn't say our security architecture is faulty, but it needs retooling. We must reinvent new ways, improvise new dynamics, that will help to address the nature of and sophistication of crimes in this present time. In this contemporary age, crimes have gone beyond the ones we know, armed robbery on the highway and what have you. Crimes have become banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, and all. These are strange, realities in our country. And so, if the military have been using a particular approach and we have not been getting the desired result, we need to think outside the box. Thinking outside the box means that you have to bring in experts to look at the issues holistically, generate a security architecture that will put pay to all of this. Once you get that security architecture right, people will have opportunity to go to farm, to pursue agriculture, which is actually the mainstay of any country. Once you are able to, when there's food security, you can generate things from agriculture, then even the subsistence farmer will have something to eat, because he goes to the farm, he grows yam in a subsistence way, he grows corn, maize, and all of that. Because of insecurity, they have abandoned the farms, a lot of people. Right. So President Bola Tinubu must critically consider this aspect of our national life. I was happy today that he went to visit, he went on a facility visit to the National Security Advisor's office and see for himself some of the structures that have been put in place. Beyond those structures, the human structures that are going to be running all of those things, they must be encouraged, they must be mobilized, and also incentivized in a way that they will have that confidence that they are working for our collective good and that their efforts are being appreciated. Because when you don't appreciate our soldiers, our policemen, and all of that who are working, civil defense corps, then you are going to be getting some kind of inertia from them.
All right. I've been speaking with the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kasima Febwa. Thank you very much for coming on Politics Tonight and for your contribution on the program.
It's a pleasure always. God bless you.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our second guest of the day, who is the spokesperson of the Women for Yari movement, Safia Ibrahim Ogo, for discussion on the battle for Senate presidency of the 10th National Assembly. Please stay with us.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did they?
TVC News, first with breaking news.
Join me, Precious Amayo, as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour when the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
TVC News, first with breaking news. We cover the big political stories in Nigeria, but people want more than just politics. Business news, sports, naturally, but you need news to live by also. Stories about education, health, personal finance, and hey, even lifestyle news. Newspaper reviews, travel news, and much more. Nigeria, it's more than just politics. It's life. Start your day with us every weekday. TVC News Breakfast. First, fast, balanced, and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the second guest of the day. I am joined by the spokesperson of the Women for Yari movement, Safia Ibrahim Ogo, for discussion on the battle for Senate presidency of the 10th National Assembly. Thank you very much for joining us, comrade.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
You're welcome. Now let's start with composition of members of the National Assembly along party lines. How will you describe the situation with about 7 parties now represented?
Well, we are coming under the auspices of the Women for Yari. Of course, you know that the next agitation here is the selection process for the upper house. That's the Senate seat, the office of the Senate President. We Women for Yari movement are coming together as women of colors women detribalized, women irrespective of tribe, religion, and different state. We're coming together to speak with one voice, to appeal to all our sundry the need for competency, capacity, capability. On this, we have found a champion, the champion in person of distinguished Senator Abdulaziz Yari. You will agree with me that he is a former governor of Zamfara State in the northwestern part of Nigeria. Again, he has had a track record of being the chairman of Governors Forum, that he has steered excellently the leadership as a doyen of all governors under the leadership then President Goodluck Jonathan. He did so well because, you know, Jonathan was from the south and we had the Governors Forum being from the north.
We will get to that. We will get to that. Well, let's quickly talk about the tussle for the principal positions in the incoming 10th National Assembly. And now, as the spokesperson of the Women for Yari movement, how will you rate his chances in the race for the Senate presidency?
Well, the position of the Senate president, what we believe under the Women for Yari movement, is that it should be left open for superior argument on the floor of the red chambers to supersede. It should be on competency. It should be on capability. It should be on a one-to-one, one-man-to-one senator democratic interplay within the floor of the red chamber. Because we believe that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a true Democrat, whom just emerged and be sworn in as the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian, he promised Nigerians in his inaugural speech, he said, and I quote, "We shall consult. Dialogue never dictates. We shall reach out to all for holding views contrary to our own. We are here to mend this country." By this inaugural speech, the Women for Yari movement keyed in that His Excellency, Mr. President, means so well, so good to all Nigeria, that his doors are open to democratic tenets. On this note, we would like to once again congratulate him for a very successful inaugural. And again, he has a competent vice president who is also believing that they will not dictate, rather they will dialogue with the people, where the people's voice will take stage. That is the position of the Women for Yari movement. We believe in one indivisible Nigeria based on competent, irrespective of tribe. Yeah.
Comrade, I hear you, but from what we have, the APC leadership has taken a position on the zoning arrangement for the Senate presidency. So, with this, why has your principal and some aspirants refused to drop their bids despite the decision by APC?
Yeah, the reason is because we are keen into Mr. President's speech, which he said he will dialogue. They will listen to the people. You will agree with us that the Women for Yari are mothers. They are also Nigerian women. And of course, you know that in the Senate, we just have 3 women. It's a low voice. Hence, the Women for Yari movement, because Nigerian women were not given opportunity of a 35% affirmative actions, 35% of elected position in the 109, hence women on the different auspices, of which Women for Yari movement is one of the foremost, that we have decided as citizens, with due respect to the NWC, to create a table for ourselves so that superior argument can come to the fore using media, using advocacy, using eyeball-to-eyeball contact, and appealing that from a very, very tough election, from a very, very controversial election where His Excellency President Bola Ahmed and his vice emerged victoriously. Thus, women, being few in the Senate, will not just fold their hands. The reason is because the legislators, the governance, the role the Senate will be playing has a direct positive or negative effect on an average Nigerian woman who wears the shoes of the pains of the family, of the pains of the hunger, of the pains of the thirst of our education for our children. You will agree with me that hunger does not know tribe, hunger does not know NWC, hunger does not know religion. Hence, even in selecting the president and vice president, Nigerian women gave a thumbs up to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his vice president, irrespective of their religion. Hence, we are using the same formula to appeal to His Excellency to keep to his promise that we shall dialogue, we shall engage all those, never dictate, I repeat, never dictate. We shall reach out to all for holding views contrary, including that of NWC, to their own. He said, we are here to mend the country.
Comrade, but some northern groups have asked Yari to step down for Orji's Okalu. How is Yari reacting to this?
Well, I am not Yari. I am just a spokesperson for the Women for Yari's movement. The decision for Yari to stand in and contest for the position of the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that decision remains sacrosanct. Because in him, we, the Women for Yari movement, we have found a champion who has proven his past track record, what he has been able to do in terms of women empowerment, the girl child education, including the Almajiri education. And again, of course, you know, even when he stabilized the Governors Forum, where if you look at history in the past, we had a one-time president from the South, we had a one-time, at the same time, chairman of Governors Forum within the Southern region. But there was a lot of lacuna within the Governors Forum until His Excellency, distinguished Senator Abdulaziz Yari, stepped into the shoes of the chairman of Governors Forum. He gave stability. He gave point agenda which include road infrastructure, network, unification, stability, peace and love of the nation. At this particular time of our growth in Nigeria, what we need a unifier. And that unification we have found in His Excellency distinguished Senator Abdulaziz Yari.
All right, comrade, we will get back to this, but let me quickly have your take on Southeast agitation. The zone is not happy with the decision to exclude the zone from the calculations. Now, apart from Benjamin Kalu, who is being considered for Deputy Speaker, how will you describe such agitation?
Oh, well, it is very, very realistic and very natural for people to agitate. When you hear that people are agitating, when you hear that people are caucusing, these are early signals. These are early warnings that there's a kind of resistance within the 109 senator in favor of Senator Abdulaziz Yari. These are early warning signals, and this we are expecting with great keen interest, watching the interplay. We are waiting to see the body language of His Excellency, who we believe, the President and Commander, as a true Democrat, a man with a track record, a man who has set the pace of democracy, not just only in Nigeria, in Africa and in the globe. That is His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We are waiting to see him as a father of the nation, as a father of the 109 senators. You know, we as a mother, if you are going to give out food to your children, you dish it equally. If you are going to talk to your children with love, you love them equally. Hence, we are saying and we are pleading that the 10th Assembly should be left open for superior argument on the floor of the Senate to decide on the best from among the rest that will champion the yearnings and aspiration of the cry of an average Nigerian woman, which we do not have equal representation on the floor. Women in politics just agitated a few hours ago on air. The Yari, Women for Yari movement have been dialoguing, appealing to NWC, appealing to the 109 senators, appealing to the wives of the distinguished, duly elected 109 senators. You will agree with us that women in 2023 came out in large quantum to entrench the votes that the 109 is bagging to the Senate. Hence, Nigerian women and women in Yari in particular are not going to fold their hands because decisions of the Senate, the law decided the bills at the Senate affect directly the lives of the families of average Nigerian women. We are pained with so much hardship.
All right, so just to say, if the plan by the APC scales through, what do you think can be done to assuage the feeling of those who may be aggrieved after the contest?
Well, it is one thing for NWC to make a request. It is one thing that we believe that each an individual senator is a representative of a large number of people within their constituent. They know that Nigerians are watching with keen interest the interplay that will be playing on the floor of the Senate. What we are appealing is that it should be done under a free, fair, credible election open to all to contest. There should not be a hijack or imposition of candidate. And we are appealing to His Excellency, he should leave his mind open that he will be working with whoever emerges from a superior democratic process on the floor of the 10th Assembly after the proclamation.
All right, comrade. Thank you very much for your time on the program. I've been speaking with the spokesperson of the Women for Yari movement, Safia Ibrahim Ogo. Thank you very much, comrade, for coming on the program.
But I have one thing to say, please. The North, the Southwest has the president, the judiciary has the South, the executive has the South. The question the 19 northern states are asking as citizens, as women, where is the position of the North in the legislature, where we have the Southern
sadly, we're out of time.
Judiciary is South.
Thank you very much.
The North is still asking, where is the position of the North with all our vote? Mr. President acknowledged Yari even in his
Thank you very much, comrade. I should let you go now. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the program. And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Goodbye.
Greasy and smelly braids can be a thing of the past. Introducing the new Ruba braids from Expression, made with 100% Aquatex fiber from Canicolon. The new Ruwa braids from Expression is extremely fast drying and perfect for friction-free washing. Stay dry this season with the new Ruwa braids from Expression, now available in pre-stretch and regular braid variants and in beauty shops near you.
Need the new Harpic sachets. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Harpic sachet.
Itchy, greasy and smelly braids can be a thing of the past. Introducing the new Ruwa braids from Expression, made with 100% Aquatex fiber from Canicolon. The new Ruwa braids from Expression is extremely fast drying and perfect for friction-free washing. Stay dry this season with the new Ruwa braids from Expression, now available in pre-stretch and regular braid variants and in beauty shops near you.
Every major news story is with many perspective and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every week, Green Angle in partnership with Wild Aid will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing...
Feel the power. Welcome to a righteous invasion of truth.